You're listening to Give God 90, where we're not afraid of the tough biblical questions, because we will dig through the language, the culture, and the history to find the truth revealed in the words of our Creator.
Well, happy Monday, everyone. Thank you for spending some time with us today. It is Monday once again. Happens this time every week.
Yes, absolutely.
I am being
very
carefully monitored and supervised this morning. I'm getting looks.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Technical difficulties on my end.
That's nothing new. If you haven't been there lately, you might want to check out GiveGod90.com or AuthorJerryMitchell.com, where you can get the books. If you like what you hear, please use those share buttons. It just makes it easier for people to find us, and it doesn't take you any time to do it. All kinds of fun things going on in the world this morning. Apparently, the Assad regime in Syria overnight was overthrown, and he has taken his money and gone to Moscow. I think it was close to $2 billion is what they estimate he was worth that he removed from the country of Syria. I'm not going to get into that. There's too much else going on. But, you know, some of the things we see in the world, we can view it as either amazing or we can view it as disgusting. And some things can actually be both, depending on what it is and how it's done. Last week, there was an interesting headline from the NBC website, and it reads as follows. Are you ready for this? AI-generated version of Jesus Christ in church confessional booth draws controversy. A 300-year-old church in Switzerland ran a 2-month experiment involving a digital version of Jesus powered by artificial intelligence. Now, regular listeners know what I think about AI. It's nothing more than an extremely complex computer program. More on that in a moment. But let's get to some more of the story. Yes, I'm getting looks again. I'm like, what are you looking at me like that for? From the article, okay, a church in Switzerland experimented with artificial intelligence to create a digital version of Jesus, leading to a debate on if the move brought people closer to God or if it was just blasphemous. St. Peter's Chapel in Lucerne, Switzerland, began the 2-month experiment called Deus in Machina. Which I believe translates to God in Machine. It began in August, in which visitors spoke with a digital avatar powered by AI inside a confession booth. The avatar projected on a computer screen offered advice to churchgoers based on scripture in more than 100 languages. Okay. So we have a church that somehow, in some way, thought it would be a good idea to offer an AI-generated image to the people who visited there. Now, the article continues. The project was I can't talk this morning. Developed by a Swiss IT expert, Philipp Hausbauer, an IT specialist at Lucerne University of Applied Science and Arts, who said he used OpenAI's GPT-40 and an open source version of the company's Whisper product to power AI Jesus, according to the Associated Press. So this fella is someone who is obviously a very, very good programmer. He developed this and convinced the church to run the experiment. Now, before visitors stepped into the confession booth, the experience was outlined with instructions. Okay, so even before you go in, you get these instructions. These instructions included a disclaimer. Don't divulge personal information. Apparently, AI Jesus can't keep a secret. Problem number one. You have to remember you're talking to a computer. It gets better. It gets better. Topics like relationships, love, topics about God, they asked him what to do. Okay. So there were certain things they had to avoid. So what were they supposed to ask? You know, what did you have for supper last night? You know, if you ask a computer what it had for supper, what do you think the answer is going to be? Oil and electricity, right? That's about what they run on. And a lot of electronics now don't even use oil. Yeah. Folks, this is a real news story. This actually happened. This is not something that I made up. I couldn't make this stuff up. You know, people go to houses of worship to find answers to their questions about their life, right? We want to know what's going on. And pastors should have the capability to hear these questions, to keep them confidential, which apparently AI can't. But more importantly, they should be able to find a place in the Bible where it is written to offer guidance to the people who are coming with questions. And if they can't do that, why are they leaders in a church? Why is it? You know, you go to someone who is supposed to know these things, and if they can't look in their Bible and say, well, here is this example. It says this. So my suggestion would be to do what is written. Well, why are they there? And apparently that's what the church wondered too. So they're like, well, let's just put this computer in and see what happens. Now it says that visitors spoke about topics ranging from the afterlife to true love to feelings to solitude, the existence of God. That was according to the AP. Most visitors, mostly between the ages of 40 to 70, reported on a questionnaire that was provided afterwards. They were Christians, but agnostics, atheists, Muslims, Buddhists, and Taoists were there as well. Some of their findings are positive. The experience apparently generated debate and controversy worldwide on social media. Really? The head priest, I believe is who this is, said AI Jesus was never meant to replace a priest. Instead, it was implemented to get people thinking about the intersection of the digital and divine. Think about that. The intersection of the digital and divine. We already have that. It's called online searchable biblical documents. Of the 100 or so English translations of the Bible that we have, just about all of them now are available in searchable documents on the internet. I use them often to compare what they say and compare that with what's in the original. So here is another problem. Artificial intelligence is a very complex computer program. And it searches the internet to find comparable information and then process that information into either written or spoken language that is supposed to be able to make sense to the people who are either reading it or listening to it. So if the programmer that developed this program, this AI Jesus, has a Christian worldview, it would be very possible for that person to exclude any writings that he didn't agree with. Remember, it's a computer program. It can only look where it's told to look and what it's told to look for. It can't go out on its own and think outside the box, so to speak. In other words, the parameters of the program would stop it from selecting any information that may be Jewish, Buddhist, Muslim, whatever religion, right? And it could also be manipulated to exclude anything that the programmer might seem contrary to what he or she believes. But there's a larger problem, and this comes straight from Genesis. If you want to read that passage to remind everyone who we are.
Then God said, "Let us make human beings in our image and likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the sky. Let them rule over the tame animals, over the earth, over all the small crawling animals on the earth." So God created human beings in his image. In the image of God, he created them. He created them male and female. God blessed them and said, "Have many children and grow in number. Fill the earth and be its master. Rule over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the sky. Rule over every living thing that moves on the earth." Genesis chapter 1, verse 26 through 28.
Mankind is made in the image of our Creator. We have some, not all, but some of his characteristics. We have the ability to think outside of the parameters of a computer program. We have the ability to show love and compassion. We have the ability for emotion. No computer program has that capability. Our pets, oftentimes, they love us. Oh, they're so wonderful. Sometimes I think they tolerate us. Sometimes, it may seem that they're showing love and affection, but animals are not made in the image of God. They don't have that emotion. Now, they can react favorably, disfavorably, but to actually show genuine love the way people do, the way our Creator does, they don't have that capability, and neither does a computer. When people are searching for something in their lives to give them direction or guidance, it's going to be impossible to find that from a machine. It's that simple. Now, I realize that a lot of people today think they can find this guidance, this direction, with just a few clicks on their phone or on a keyboard. But the reality is that a computer program lives in a virtual world, not the real world. Now, can AI be useful? Yeah, it can for certain applications, depending on how you use it. But it can't resolve real world problems, right? It can't resolve emotions. It can't resolve feelings. It can't resolve relationships. It can go search out all kinds of information, and it can attempt to provide what it thinks would be a solution. But depending on where it gathers its information from and how it processes that information, it may tell you to do something, you don't want to do. It might tell you to do something, in some instances, drastic, right? And I have to remember the science fiction aspect of this as well. Even if we were able to produce an android that was able to maintain an outer temperature of 98.6 degrees, and I don't know what that relates to in the metric world, okay? But body temperature. Even if this android had a compassionate sounding voice, maybe it might be even soft to the touch. It might feel like real skin. It might even be able to cook a terrific tasting meal. It would still be missing something that we can't provide in a machine. It would be missing being made in the image of our Creator. Nothing man has made has the ability, we have the ability to take microchips and some 3D printed material, some other synthetics, and we can put it all together. We can tell it to go out and search the internet for information. But it will never, ever be able to experience being made in the image of our Creator. Nothing can replace the human factor that our Creator has given to mankind. As much as we enjoy our pets, they're not human, are they? As much as we might enjoy playing a video game, even if you're playing a virtual game with someone who is miles and miles away, you're missing the human factor. It's simply not there. We are designed by our Creator to have real human interaction. Could this AI Jesus be able to explain why he could only say the things the Father had given him to say? I kind of doubt it. If you remember, there was a movie years ago, I think it had Matthew Broderick in it, but don't quote me on that. It was called War Games. At the end of the movie, they had this computer, and at the time, it was like this supercomputer, right? It had developed these war games. And this computer, they programmed it to play tic-tac-toe against itself in a hope, I guess, to show the futility of nuclear war. And of course, in the movie, the computer goes kind of wild, and it realized that the game it was playing was possible to win every time. And so the computer says the only winning move is not to play. Imagine an AI program that had to explain how Jesus could not have said the only reason for divorce is sexual immorality when the Bible tells us the punishment for sexual immorality is death. There would be no need, no reason to divorce someone you've just stoned to death, right? Imagine having the AI Jesus explain how he was able to walk on water when AI can't move in the real world. It can't experience that feeling of water. Think about that. How is something that can't move going to say, this is what it feels like to walk on water? I had someone use the analogy, and I've used it a couple of times. How do you explain to someone with no legs what it feels like to walk? If they're born with no legs, how do you explain to someone what it feels like to walk? Same thing. Think about if the AI Jesus, could he explain how he turned water into wine when AI can't understand taste? You see, the problem is much more than simply being able to program a computer to search for responses that you program into it. The problem is that a computer will never completely understand the human aspect of life and everything that goes with that. A computer is only as good as the information it receives. And if it begins with a fatal flaw in the information, then the response will be wrong. So, how should we as Christians or even Jewish people who claim the God of Abraham as their God, the creator of everything, how do we how do we react to this AI Jesus? Because the reality is, now that that door's been opened, there's going to be an AI rabbi. You know it's coming. You know it's coming. My first suggestion is to laugh at it and realize and understand it can't possibly do the things that it claims to do. It's just not there. But at the same time, we have to remember that it's only in a very elaborate computer program that someone developed, probably because they thought they could be their own God and create life from a pile of parts and pieces and a little bit of electrical current. That's what it is. That's the reality of what it is. Now, I'm going to confess that I do enjoy the convenience of a video game because it saves me from setting up a game to play physically, whether it's on paper or setting it up manually. But it's only a game. It isn't something that rules my life. Quite often I use it as a waste of time. In fact, my username on one of the word games I play is my waste of time, all one word. And I use it simply because it is, waiting for Meyer to get ready to do something, go somewhere, whatever it might be. And sometimes I can sit there and play it and think about other things while I'm putting these words together. I don't depend on it to answer questions. I don't depend on it to find answers for what's the meaning of life. We already know that. It's already there. It's somewhere that's already been written. I really hope this information gives you something to think about, like how will AI be able to help you in some things while remembering AI is only as good as the information it has available. Now, they say, it goes out and searches the web. Okay. Does it search all of the web? And not everything that has ever been written is there. Not everything that has ever been written is there. There's a lot of information that's no longer available to us other than in some very old books. There's some things that I have looked at that I wanted a recipe for. It's not available on the web. One of those things was asafoetida. It's an old-time concoction that the old folks put together, and it was used for a lot of different things. But it's not on the web. You have to go to the very old books to find it. You see, AI can't think outside the program. It can't feel. It can't taste. It can't have emotion. It can only do what it's programmed to do, and you cannot program emotion into a computer. It's not intelligence. It's a machine. But mankind, on the other hand, we're human. We're made in the image of our Creator. Get down, Susie. we aren't made to necessarily look like him, but we are designed to be as much like him as humanly possible. As much like him as humanly possible. So, is AI Jesus amazing or disgusting? Well, it's probably both. It really is an amazing program for sure. It can do amazing things. AI has the ability to very quickly gather information. You know, if you want to know very quickly, well, anybody can do a conversion. And so, you know, if you need information gathered very quickly, it's good at that. There's an advertisement on television where this guy's writing a nasty note and then he has some second thoughts and he says, you know, he clicks the thing that says friendly and it changes what he's written. And of course he gets a very good response, immediate response, and we know that doesn't happen. It's advertising, right? But they're trying to convince you that artificial intelligence has the capability to make you a better person. It doesn't. Only you have the capability to make yourself a better person. Is this AI Jesus amazing or disgusting? I think it's both. I think it's both. AI used properly and applied properly is amazing. But it can have some very, very negative applications as well. And this happens to be one of them. If you don't apply AI properly, it can be disgusting. So hopefully Thursday, well, no, I know what I'm going to talk about Thursday. It won't be much better. There's things going on in the world that don't need to be going on. There really is. Don't want to be a downer here at the end of the year, but you need to know this information. You need to know what it means and how to not necessarily react to it, but how to respond. Not telling you what to think, giving you things to think about. So, until Thursday.
Until Thursday.
We too wish you many, many blessings, everyone.
Yes, absolutely.